There's a kind of silence she never expected, the kind that doesn't scream, doesn't explain, doesn't try to be understood. It simply exists. And in that stillness, something remarkable begins. This isn't just another breakup story. This is the path of the man who didn't just walk away, he evolved. A man who transformed heartbreak into composure, silence into strength, and detachment into peace. And there's one chapter in this journey, one she never saw coming. It's when she finally speaks, hoping to find a flicker of the man she once controlled, only to meet calm eyes, a steady voice, and a heart that no longer reacts. That moment doesn't just shake her, it shatters the illusion that she still mattered. If that moment speaks to something deep in you, if you've ever faced the storm and chosen stillness over revenge, you're in the right place. This is The Silent Thinker. If the message resonates, take a second to subscribe, like the video, and leave a comment below with the word unshakable, so I know you're one of the few walking this path with intention. Now breathe deep, let's begin. Part 1. The Unexpected Power of Silence. They thought your silence meant surrender, that you disappeared because you were broken, not because you were building. But the truth is, silence, true silence, is the language of transformation, and it's always misunderstood by those who expect chaos. She left, expecting noise, angry messages, late-night calls, impulsive reactions. Those things would have made sense to her. They would have confirmed that she still mattered, that she still had power over your emotions. Most people are addicted to reaction. When they throw a spark, they expect fire. But when the spark meets stillness, confusion sets in. Let's be clear, the silence we're talking about isn't passive. It's not about sulking in a dark room or disappearing out of shame. No, this silence is active. It's decisive. It's a man stepping out of the storm and into stillness. Not because he's weak, but because he's ready to reclaim his peace. You see, in a world that rewards noise, silence becomes a revolution. And to walk away without a single word, that terrifies the very people who thought they could manipulate you through guilt, emotion, or obligation. I want you to imagine this. A man sits alone on a park bench at sunrise. No phone in his hand. No distractions. Just him, the breeze, and the thoughts he once tried to avoid. That man isn't lost. He's learning to listen again, not to her voice, not to her absence, but to himself. That is the beginning of power. Because silence, when chosen, not forced, is one of the greatest forms of self-respect. It's saying, I could explain myself, I could argue, I could beg, but I won't. Because my peace matters more than your attention. Now, let's talk about her. She expected you to chase, to fight for something that was already over. She wanted to see that you were still tethered to her in some emotional way, still dancing to a tune she no longer had to play out loud. But when you gave her nothing, that's when everything changed. Here's the thing. Most people don't understand when someone expects a reaction and receives silence. It creates a void, and that void doesn't stay empty. The human mind hates uncertainty, so it fills that silence with questions, doubts, regrets. Why isn't he reaching out? Did I never matter? Has he already moved on? Did he? grow. And that last question, that's the one that shakes her. Because most men do exactly what she expects. They fall apart. But the man who chooses silence and channels it into focus becomes something unexpected. He becomes a mystery, and mystery is powerful. I'm not talking about playing games. This isn't manipulation. Stoicism isn't about trying to win a breakup. It's about choosing your own dignity when the world tells you to grovel. It's about detaching, not with bitterness, but with purpose. She thought silence meant you were waiting. In reality, silence meant you were walking. Walking into the gym, not to post it on Instagram, but to rebuild the parts of yourself that you abandoned when you made her the center of your world. Reading books, not to show off quotes, but to fill the silence with something more meaningful than noise. Reconnecting with your mission, not out of revenge, but because you remembered you were never meant to revolve around someone else's orbit. This is what Stoicism teaches us. Mastery of the self begins in stillness. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "Nowhere you can go is more peaceful, more free of interruptions than your own soul." You don't need to slam the door. You don't need to make an announcement. You just need to close the chapter quietly and begin writing the next. I've seen this play out in real life. One of my closest friends went through a brutal breakup, the kind that leaves a man hollow. She cheated, then twisted the story to make herself the victim. He was shattered, and everyone expected him to lash out, to beg, to spiral. But he didn't. He disappeared, but not in despair. He woke up at 5 a.m. every morning, ran 5 miles, read philosophy, built a business from scratch. And when she reached out months later, curious, nostalgic, maybe even regretful, he didn't ignore her to be cruel. He simply no longer had anything to say. Not because he was angry, because he was healed. That's the kind of silence no one prepares you for. The kind that doesn't come from heartbreak, but from evolution. She'll think you're playing games. Let her. She'll think you're emotionally distant. That's fine. You're not trying to convince her of anything. You're not trying to convince anyone. You're simply becoming who you were meant to be. And that man, he doesn't beg. He doesn't explain. He doesn't chase. He creates. He builds. He becomes. And here's the part she never saw coming. The silence that once confused her now haunts her. Not because it's loud, but because it's final. You were never meant to be a man begging at the gates of someone else's love. You were meant to be the gatekeeper of your own energy. And when you withhold that energy, not out of anger, but out of clarity, you become untouchable. So if you're sitting in silence right now, wondering if it means you're weak, stop. It means you're beginning. The path of Stoicism starts not with words, but with restraint. Not with control over others, but mastery over yourself. You don't owe anyone a dramatic exit. You don't owe anyone closure. Sometimes, the most powerful message you can send is the one you never speak. Let them wonder, while you build. Part 2. Mastering the Inner Storm. Most men think strength is about appearing unaffected, tight jaw, dry eyes, quiet lips. But real strength is much quieter. It happens in private, in the invisible space between a broken moment and a chosen response. It's not about acting tough. It's about choosing not to let the storm within you spill out and ruin everything around you. When she left, the pain was real. Let's not pretend otherwise. You felt that hollow weight in your chest. The world felt slower. Food lost its taste. Your reflection in the mirror looked unfamiliar, like a man who had lost his coordinates. And you were tempted to text, to drink, to run toward distractions, to chase anything that would fill that silence again. But something stopped you. Maybe it was intuition. Maybe it was exhaustion. Or maybe for the first time in your life, you understood you had a choice. Not a choice over what she did, but a choice over what you would do next. And that realization is where emotional mastery begins. Let me be clear. Mastering your emotions does not mean suppressing them. It doesn't mean pretending you're okay when you're not. It means becoming so aware of what you feel that your emotions no longer get to drive the car you do. Stoicism is often misunderstood in this way. People think it's about feeling nothing. That's false. Stoicism is not the absence of emotion. It's the discipline of it. Epictetus once said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." And the truth is, most men are reacting all day long. One word from her, one post on social media, one memory, and suddenly they're pulled under again, spiraling. That's not strength. That's emotional slavery. Now let's flip that. Picture a man standing on the edge of a cliff, waves crashing below, wind howling. He's not yelling back at the storm. He's not trying to stop the rain. He just plants his feet. He breathes. He stands still. That's not numbness. That's composure. Because while others rage against what they can't control, the Stoic learns to control only one thing himself. I remember a time when I was in the eye of such a storm myself. A woman I deeply cared for blindsided me. The way she walked away wasn't loud. It was surgical. No drama. Just disappearance. And for weeks, I couldn't sleep. I replayed every moment, wondering where I went wrong. Until one night, I stopped. I stopped trying to rewrite the past and started writing my future. I sat down with a notebook and I asked myself 3 questions. What can I control? What must I accept? What am I becoming through this? And from that moment, I began practicing the simplest but hardest thing, stillness. Not the kind that hides from pain, the kind that looks pain in the eye and says, "You can come in, but you don't get to stay." Each morning I woke up. I chose discipline, small things, making my bed, reading for 10 minutes, lifting heavy, putting my phone down at night. These actions weren't magical, but over time, they rebuilt the man who had almost crumbled. You see, emotions lose their grip when you stop feeding them stories. She didn't leave because you weren't enough. She didn't leave because you failed. She left because that chapter ended, period. But here's the part. We often forget chapters end so we can write new ones. And the pen is back in your hand. The man who learns to master his inner storm becomes something the world can't touch. He becomes unshakable, not because he doesn't feel, but because he refuses to be ruled by what he feels. She may test you. The world may poke at you. Life will certainly push you. But if you can look at the fire and not flinch, if you can be the calm in the chaos, then you've begun to taste the essence of true masculinity. Not dominance, not ego, but presence. Women don't regret losing a man who chased. They regret losing a man who rose. And the man who rises doesn't scream, doesn't post, doesn't explain. He just shows up differently. He walks differently. He speaks less, but every word carries weight. He no longer reacts to triggers because he's removed the hooks. He's not avoiding pain. He's using it as fuel. Every step he takes is forged in silence, built on discipline. And yes, one day she may look back. She may scroll through old photos. She may even reach out. But by then, the storm inside you won't even recognize her name, because the man who once thought she was his center has found a deeper truth. He is his own foundation. So if today you feel the storm within good, that means you're alive. That means you're human. But now it's time to stop letting it pull you under. Stand in it. Learn from it. Channel it. Let it refine you, not define you. Because every storm has a center. And when you find yours, you become immovable. You become untouchable. You become a man of peace in a world addicted to noise. That's what mastering the inner storm is all about. And that's the path of the Stoic. Part 3. Detachment and freedom. There comes a moment not with fireworks, not with fanfare, but in quiet clarity. A moment when you stop checking her profile, when her name no longer stings, when silence becomes not a punishment, but a preference. That moment is called detachment, and it's one of the most liberating feelings a man can ever experience. But let's get something straight. Detachment isn't about being cold. It isn't about pretending you never cared. And it damn sure isn't about playing games. It's about freedom. Freedom from emotional dependence. Freedom from the invisible chains that tie your worth to someone else's presence. Detachment means that your peace no longer depends on someone else's approval or attention. It means you're finally home inside yourself. When a man is attached, he lives in reaction. He becomes a thermometer rising and falling with her mood, her texts, her silence. When she smiles, he feels alive. When she withdraws, he spirals. That's not love. That's addiction. Detachment transforms you from a thermometer into a thermostat. You set your temperature. You decide how you feel. The outside world might shift, but your internal world, it stays grounded. Now, don't get me wrong. Reaching detachment isn't easy. It hurts. There's grief. There's anger. There's confusion. But on the other side of that emotional minefield lies something priceless: emotional sovereignty. You begin to understand that you don't need her to see your progress. You're not building to impress her. You're not evolving to make her jealous. You're doing it because you refuse to stay broken for someone who walked away. I remember when it happened to me. The first few weeks after the breakup, my mind was a war zone. Every song, every corner of the city, every notification, I thought it was her. I stayed awake thinking of things I should have said, things I should have done. But then came the shift. It didn't come from a book or a podcast. It came on a Tuesday afternoon, in the middle of folding laundry. I realized I hadn't thought about her all day. And not because I forced myself not to, because I simply didn't need to. That's when I knew I was free. You see, when you detach, your life expands. You start reconnecting with old passions. You call your mother back. You spend time with real friends. Not just people who validated your relationship, but those who remind you who you are without it. You lift, you build, you learn, and slowly, she fades, not because you've erased her, but because you've outgrown the version of yourself that needed her. That's what detachment does. It doesn't remove the memory. It removes the weight of it. She may still exist in your story, but she's no longer the title. She's a chapter, a meaningful one, perhaps, but not the whole book. And once you understand that, you stop rereading it. Now here's the paradox. The moment you no longer need her, that's when she feels it, deeply. Not because you posted a quote, not because you flaunted someone new, but because your silence became sincere, your absence became total, and she can feel the emotional cord has been cut. She might reach out, she might test the waters, but you won't feel the urge to respond, not because you're trying to hurt her, but because her voice no longer echoes inside you. You filled that space with your mission, your health, your self-respect. That's what real detachment feels like. It's not apathy, it's wholeness. You don't ignore her stories because you want her to notice. You don't view them because you need to know. You simply don't care. Your mind isn't occupied with her anymore because it's too busy building the man you're meant to become. And the world, it responds to that. You become magnetic, not by seeking attention, but by withdrawing from the need for it. You walk into a room, and your presence speaks louder than any attempt to prove yourself. Why? Because you've reclaimed your energy, and a man who controls his energy, his thoughts, his time, his focus is a man who can't be manipulated. She once had a grip on your emotions. Now, she has questions, not because you told her off, but because you said nothing, and that nothing is filled with confidence. So here's my message to the man still caught in the storm. Detach, not out of hate, but out of healing. Not to punish her, but to protect you. Detach so you can finally see your own reflection clearly without her shadow over it. Detach because life is too short to waste on someone who made a temporary decision while you were offering permanent love. You'll know you've reached detachment when you stop seeking closure and become your own. That's when the game ends. That's when freedom begins. And that's when you become untouchable. Part 4. The Rise Through Pain. Pain is a strange teacher. It doesn't knock. It breaks the door in. It doesn't whisper. It roars in your ears at 2 a.m. And yet, when you stop running from it, when you stop numbing, avoiding, distracting it becomes the most honest voice you've ever heard. Most men fear pain because they think it signals weakness. They see it as the end of something, as a collapse, a failure, a fracture in their identity. But Stoicism teaches us something radical. Pain is not the end, it's the forge. It is through pain that the old self burns away. The needy self, the reactive self, the self that sought comfort over character. You can't rise without fire. The man who learns to sit with pain, who learns to breathe through it rather than escape it, he becomes indestructible. Not because he no longer feels, but because he no longer fears feeling. Let me tell you something personal. There was a time when I hit rock bottom. Not because she left, but because I had built my identity around being wanted. When that want disappeared, so did my reflection. I wasn't looking at a man anymore. I was looking at a ghost trying to remember who he was before he became someone else's emotional crutch. And I did what most men do. I tried to distract myself, late nights, temporary attention, scrolling through social media for traces of her life, hoping maybe she missed me too. But one night, I looked in the mirror and couldn't recognize who I had become. That was the turning point. That's when I stopped asking, why did this happen to me? And started asking, what am I going to do with it? The rise through pain begins not with answers, but with questions. Real ones, brutal ones. Why was her validation more important than my own? Why did I abandon myself to keep her happy? Why did her silence destroy me when mine should have built me? And from those questions came a vow not to get revenge, not to prove her wrong, but to rebuild, brick by brick, routine by routine, rep by rep, not for Instagram, not for her to see, not even to feel better, just to be better. Every mile I ran with the pain. I didn't leave it behind. I carried it. I let it fuel discipline. I let it teach me where I was still weak, still dependent, still unsure. And slowly, the man who used to live in her shadow stepped into his own light. That's what Stoicism demands, not that you become emotionless, but that you become unshakable. Seneca once wrote, "Difficulties strengthen the mind, as labor does the body." That's not a quote to admire. It's a mindset to live by, because pain will visit again, in some form, at some time. Maybe not from a woman, maybe not from heartbreak, but from life. You will lose. You will fail. You will face days when it's easier to collapse than to rise. But here's the secret. You've already risen before. You've already survived the worst day of your life, and you're still here, breathing, listening, building. That's not weakness. That's proof. So many men stay trapped in their pain because they want it to mean something. They want the pain to justify itself through apology, closure, or justice. But what if the only meaning of your pain is your evolution? What if pain wasn't given to you as punishment, but as permission? Permission to change, permission to rise, permission to finally choose yourself. When you begin rising, you won't feel victorious. Not at first. You'll feel tired. You'll feel alone. You'll feel misunderstood. And that's okay, because you're not rising for applause, you're rising for peace. One morning, you'll wake up and realize she no longer lives in your first thoughts. You'll sip your coffee, hit the gym, go to work, and somewhere in between, sets or steps or spreadsheets, it'll hit you. I don't miss her. I miss who I thought I had to be when I was with her. And that man, he's gone now, burned up in the fire, rebuilt through discipline, refined by pain. You don't need to announce your growth. The world will feel it. She'll feel it. In your silence, in your composure, in your absence. You don't need to post it. You don't need to prove it. You just need to keep showing up as the man who is no longer ruled by who hurt him, but shaped by what it taught him. Because pain, my friend, isn't your enemy. Pain is your mirror. And when you're brave enough to look into it, truly look, you'll see something powerful staring back. A man who didn't just survive heartbreak, he used it to become unbreakable. Part 5. The final level. True indifference. Indifference. Not anger. Not revenge. Not even closure. Just indifference. That's the final level. And most never reach it, not because they can't, but because they keep looking back. They want justice. They want to be heard. They want their pain to be recognized by the person who caused it. But here's the truth. Stoicism whispers into the soul of every man who dares to listen. The world owes you nothing, not even closure. And once you accept that, you are free. Indifference is not coldness. It's not pretending you don't care while secretly hoping she texts. It's not deleting her number while still checking her story. That's performance. That's drama. And drama is the exact thing Stoicism teaches us to step away from. True indifference is when she enters your thoughts and you don't follow her. You let the thought pass, like a cloud across the sky. You don't hold it. You don't curse it. You don't analyze it. You just breathe and return to your life. There's no announcement, no final message. No, you'll regret losing me speech. Just stillness. You're not trying to get her back. You're not trying to make her miss you. You're not trying, period. Because the man who has reached indifference has returned home to himself. He's no longer obsessed with rewriting the past. He's too busy writing his future. He doesn't need to be understood because he finally understands himself. He doesn't need her to regret it because he no longer does. And that calm, that genuine, grounded, untouchable energy, she can feel it. Even if she doesn't understand it, even if she pretends not to notice, she does. She notices that the man who once burned for her no longer flickers at her name. That the man who once begged for love now walks as if love is already within him. And that silence, that lack of reaction, it's not distance anymore. It's a wall, not built from pain, but from peace. And when she finally reaches out, if she ever does, she's not met with fire, or fury, or longing. She's met with neutrality. A man who responds, not reacts. Who smiles politely, not out of spite, but from wholeness. Who no longer needs to be seen, because he has already seen enough. That, my friend, is indifference. It's when you stop measuring your worth by who stays or who leaves. When you stop basing your happiness on someone else's recognition. When you stop looking outward and finally plant your flag inward. Epictetus once said, "Freedom is the only worthy goal in life." He didn't mean freedom from responsibility. He meant freedom from emotional slavery, from needing someone to complete you, from tying your identity to how others treat you. And when you live from that place, not as a slogan, but as a lifestyle, you become dangerous because you become a man who cannot be moved. People will try, they will poke, they will pull, they will attempt to resurrect the version of you they used to control. But that man is gone. He didn't vanish in heartbreak. He evolved through it. Indifference doesn't mean you erase the past. It means the past no longer steers the wheel. It's there. Yes, but in the rearview mirror. And your eyes are on the road ahead. A road that no longer includes her. Not because you hate her, not because you want to prove something, but because she's simply irrelevant to who you are becoming. And that's what shakes her. Not your anger, not your success, not your silence, but the realization that the man who once circled her orbit has entered his own gravity and doesn't even notice she's not there. She was never your destination. She was the detour, the storm, the fire that burned away the boy, so the man could emerge. And now, you don't wish her harm. You don't wish her back. You don't wish anything, because you're already full. And when a man is full of purpose, of peace, of presence, there's no space left for resentment. So, no, this isn't revenge. It's rebirth. This isn't silence. It's sovereignty. This isn't pretending. It's becoming. You are no longer the man who needs to be remembered. You are the man who remembers who he is. And in the stillness of that knowing, in the quiet of that truth, you become everything you were always meant to be. That, my brother, is the final level. True indifference. Not loud, not bitter, just unshakably whole.